Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is today, and welcome back. We got a lot of business to attend to and some exciting stuff to unpack here today, including some Kilmar Abrego deportation stuff. He's about to be Uganda. We'll see what the latest is on that. And then we got a little bit of an Epstein prosecutor update and a California update as well. And I'm very happy to be here with you. I hope that your weekend was just amazing and you have returned, restored, and ready to go. We got a bunch to get to today. So let's zoom in on a quick preview and then we'll dive in for further details. But we got this whole story here about this Kilmar fella. You remember him. And Kristi Noem said today that they have re-arrested him. He's already been arrested. He wasn't arrested that one time he was trafficking individuals across the state of Tennessee. They just let him go that time. But Kristi Noem came in and re-arrested him. And then what happened is a bunch of stuff got filed. So we'll go through it today. You can see, boom, here is the latest on the court docket. And guess who got the case again? Well, it's none other than Judge Zenas. Womp, 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 womp. So we'll go through it and see what is happening there. There was a court hearing today, and I got some insight into what happened at the hearing. So we'll go through and see what some of the people who were there and reporting on it had to say. But look at all this stuff got dropped today. Golly. And then we got an oral order that came down. And so they started the deportation process, but then they filed a petition to keep him here, and the judge is going to be stalling this thing out a little bit. And so we'll break down exactly what's happening. But we got some reaction to this too. Senator Van Hollen is now out. He's spent way more time with this illegal alien wife-beating gangbanger than he ever has with anybody who's the victim of an illegal alien wife-beating gangbanger. It's been shocking how much attention he's given this person, but I think it's because he knows that this is his party and potentially intelligence connection. Anyways, we'll go through that and talk about it, but we got reaction from the president himself, and man, they were out there today. We'll save this for later. I don't want you to yak your guts up right now, but we'll save this for later. This is what they're doing out there. Free Kilmar. Oh, gosh. I was going to play it. We'll save it. We'll save it. Then we got some news over from the Oversight Committee. And James Comer. We're finally going to be getting a subpoena over to somebody who definitely needs one of these subpoenas, including Weiner and others from the Oversight Committee who are all saying that they're going to be going to get Alexander Acosta, who's going to be coming in and testifying. So we're fleshing out this interview and we'll look at those documents. Then we got a little California news because, man, the Republicans are coming out striking hot. Mark Muser, he's over with the Dillon Law Group. They're announcing a new lawsuit that's being brought against California to stop this petition that they're trying to do, or this redistricting. This petition is to stop the redistricting that is happening in California illegally. We know that they have an independent commission that's supposed to be redrawing the maps, and that didn't happen. It was like Gavin Newsom, his wife, and his toddlers on with some crayons or something, all in the house. And somebody said we're not on Rumble. Are we not on Rumble right now? Let's check. Hopefully we are. It's not live right now. Let's do a little check over here. Huh. Not on Rumble? Okay, good. We're over on Rumble. All right, there we are. All right, so we are over on Rumble, my friends. So we got a bunch to get to. As you can see, it's going to be a great day. Trump's saying he's going to sue California, and we're going to have this redistricting battle afoot, whether it's in Texas or California or the other states. It's time to discuss redistricting, and we'll do that, of course, today. We had a great members-only stream this morning, and we appreciate our membos. Shout out to our membos and everybody who supports our show by becoming a membo. Today, we will not have an after party after the show. Your boy's got an appointment right after here, so I got a hard stop, but we'll be back tomorrow with our members-only stream in the morning, and we'll see you there. So thanks for becoming membos. We have great streams. We had a ton of fun this morning. We'd love to have you come join us watching thewatchers.locals.com or on YouTube. Click that join button, and we'll see you tomorrow morning on the members-only stream. All right, so let's get to it. On the day, because here is what's happening with Kilmar, and we got some business. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has now been rearrested, and the plan is he's going to Uganda. Secretary Kristi Noem from Homeland, she said today, ICE law enforcement arrested Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and they're processing him for deportation. Now, a bunch of lawyers for Kilmar have come in and filed out the wazoo, okay? And this is the docket from today, all from today, okay? All August 25th. Well, it's a lot. So they're coming in like clowns, crashing their cars into this thing. We love illegal aliens. We'll do whatever we can. Due process. And they just kind of make up a bunch of stuff. This guy got plenty of due process, as we'll talk about. In fact, they submitted as an exhibit in one of these documents exactly evidence of his due process right here in Exhibit A, which is, of course, his removal proceeding document, which is in the form of a memo of a decision and an order, which, of course, is due process. This is an entire scenery of due process. And we'll go through it again because we've gone through it a couple times, but it's very important, especially in the context of this scam that continues on. Kilmar was never illegally sent to El Salvador. That was lawful. He shouldn't have been sent to Guatemala, which is where his family and his papooses were, but we'll talk about that. But what Kristi said is President Trump is not going to allow this illegal alien, who is an MS-13 gang member, human trafficker, serial domestic abuser, and child predator, to terrorize American citizens any longer. And he's a groper, and he put the kids down in the floorboards, and the women apparently that he was trafficking were like getting groped up and down. Disgusting pervert. So, and he beat his wife too, according to her, not to me. Now, what's interesting about this fella is, we kept hearing that he's like a Maryland man, right? And that he's a real asset to America because he used to work with the unions or something. And because he has representatives at CASA, an illegal alien invasionary receiving organization, in my opinion. And they finally get Kilmar back out released onto American soil. And they're like, let us show you how American this guy is. He's just like you, America. He's here to be a part of the American dream. He just wants to work and make steel or whatever garbage. Truth is, he was trafficking illegal aliens into our country by the hundreds for a long time, probably made hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, according to some estimates, depending on how many trips he was making and how many times was he allowed to be let go when he should have been stopped by federal agents or local law enforcement, who knows. But now he's back, and this is what this dude sounds like. And so let's put a pin in this, because in their memo, okay, his lawyers are going to be objecting to his removal, and they're going to say, you can't send him to Uganda. He doesn't even know anybody in Uganda. And he's fearful of being in Uganda. And that's credible fear. And he doesn't even speak Ugandan, or whatever the language is, which I think is English, as we'll talk about. But we'll go through. We're going to learn more about Uganda today. I'm excited about that too. So we've got Kilmar. Here's what he sounded like. Here is the hero of the Democratic Party.
Un milagro, gracias a Dios. Y gracias a toda la comunidad.
This was a miracle. Thank you to God, and thank you to the community power.
Yeah, to the Democrats. Thank you to the Democrats and all of the fellow illegal alien lovers who do everything that they possibly can to facilitate the invasion and the degradation of America by having the laws perverted and broken and laughed at, by having this dude give press conferences on the streets of America as an illegal alien. Crazy.
Por eso quiero decirles las gracias a cada uno de ustedes que marcharon, levantaron sus voces y oraron.
What's he saying?
Nunca dejaron de creer y luchar por mi libertad.
Oh, he's going to continue to, he wants you to fight for his liberty?
And this is why I want to thank each and every one of you who marched, lift your voices, never stop praying, and continue to fight in my name.
Fight in my name. Brother, that's an insurrection. You can't say that stuff. We had a bunch of American citizens who got arrested for very similar language. Fight, 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 fight like hell, all of those things. Remember that? They went after everybody. Liz Cheney said, how dare you use that language? So that's insurrectionary language. And what's wild is, right, we've got an illegal alien who's in our country, who can't even speak our language, who is standing next to a CASA representative. And we looked into them a long time ago. It's an illegal alien facilitation organization. They just provide services like a receiving end. Like the invasionary force just has a receiving line. Come on in here. We'll get you all set up in this country because we've already got the infrastructure built out. And so they got a translator there who is now representing this dude. And this dude, who's not even supposed to be in our country, is now thanking other people for support, fighting for him. Thanks for marching on the streets for my illegal invasion of your country. Crazy times. So that goes on. We're not going to listen to it, but he's finally speaking, and he can't apparently speak a lick of English. This whole thing goes on, and he's going to continue to go on, and I'm sure it's just terrible. But of course, anyways, we'll leave it at that. I got a lot more things to say, but I'll be good. All right, so here's more. This is what it looked like outside the scene. So Christie said, you got to show up here because you're about to be arrested. And that wasn't official, but they said, show up and we'll see you here. And of course, they did show up. Fox News was there. They had a little bit more of the scene, and you can see there was his wife. I don't think she's got any black eyes today. She had 2 orders of protection, but he's probably on his best behavior today. And doesn't look like she's, cowering in fear or concerned about his violent behavior or the threats that he could kill her if he wanted to, like she told the judge. Her words, not mine. I didn't make it up. And now they're standing out there together as part of this Democratic scam, because this is their constituency, which are lawbreakers and illegal aliens.
Country. Again, we were out here a couple of hours ago as this began. You see people that are there praising Garcia. He doesn't want to go back to Uganda or go to Uganda in the first place, though it's unclear if he's going to go anywhere today at all. Watch this. Here he is.
Que estoy libre y me reuní con mi familia.
Brothers and sisters, my name is Kilmar Abrego.
Yeah, we know who he is. All right, so he's out there. We also saw Homeland actually gave us a little bit of a breakdown on this fella. Says, today, Secretary Newsom announced that ICE arrested Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he will be processed for removal to Uganda. Now, sanctuary politicians and the fake news are not going to tell you the truth about who this dude is. We've talked a lot about him. He's an MS-13 gang member. He's a human trafficker. He's a wife beater. He's a child predator and a criminal illegal alien. Well, let's tell you about him in case we forgot. Now, Garcia previously admitted to being illegally present in the United States. Says the subjects freely admitted being citizens and nationals of El Salvador by birth, and they were present in the United States illegally. Now he's leading protests into our country. The subjects were not in possession of any immigration documents that would allow them to be in or remain in the United States. Now, in 2019, this entire document was created. You see here the Prince George's County Police Gang Unit. They validated Abrego as a member of MS-13. When he was arrested, he was found with rolls of cash and drugs, and he was with other 2 members of MS-13. And you see the narrative here was drafted by the government, and they wrote this on March 28, 2019. They said, at 3/28/2019 at 14:27, detective with the Hyattsville police observed 4 people in the parking lot of a Home Depot. He approached all the individuals, reached into their waistbands, ditched all the drugs, so it wasn't on them. All 4 individuals were stopped, and they immediately recognized Bimbo. Remember him? MS-13 Sailors Clique. 2 small plastic bottles, marijuana, and other things. They arrested all 4 people, and this dude has extensive criminal history. Officers also interviewed Dominguez and others. Officers then interviewed Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And the full documents, by the way, we've been keeping track on a lot of this, and we got the full documents up over at watcherfiles.com. I just pushed that update today, so let me share that with you. So if you want to check this out, you can go over here to Kilmar Abrego, and if you scroll all the way down on this document, you'll see we've got all the documents here, all of them. Okay, so the removal orders, his orders of protection. I think I still need to add one other order of protection, but they're all here. And so you can read the full documents right here. And of course, we'll continue to flesh this out in time, but that's all available free, watcherfiles.com. You can just throw it in your thing and read the full documents if you want. I just say that so that you can flesh this out. If you're saying, well, what else is there? You can read it there. So then on December 1st, Abrego was stopped by the Tennessee Highway Patrol for speeding. Upon approaching the vehicle, the encountering officer noted 8 other individuals in the vehicle. Now, there was no luggage, leading the encountering officer to suspect that this was a human trafficking incident. Additionally, all the passengers gave the same home address as the subject's home address. During the interview, Abrego pretended to speak less English than he was capable of, and apparently he can't speak it either in public, or at least he's hiding it, says, and attempted to put the encountering officer off track by responding to questions with questions like, oh, I'm just dumb. When asked what the relationship he had with the registered owner, Abrego replied the owner of the vehicle is his boss and that he worked in construction. And here's a narrative now that's been released from Homeland. They say, here, 4/17/2025, page 3 of 6. They say, this is a combined intelligence unit investigative referral report. The information provided was obtained through a collaborative law enforcement partnership. And it's been referred according to process. Now, on December 1st, the Combined Intelligence Unit 2022 received information that Kilmar was queried in the NCIC by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Homeland sources indicate that Abrego was identified through official law enforcement investigations as a member of MS-13. Okay, another document there. Abrego, so he's caught with other MS-13 gang members. He's identified by Homeland here. He's the suspect of labor and human trafficking, and here's the encounter. On December 1st, 2022, Kilmar was observed speeding and unable to maintain its lane and subsequently pulled over by a trooper in Tennessee. Upon approach, officer noted there were 8 other individuals in the vehicle. Subject stated that he was driving 3 days ago from Houston, Texas to Temple Hills to bring some people to just do construction, because that's all they do is here just to build your house for you. Of course, there's no houses anywhere. There was no luggage in the vehicle, leading the encountering officer to suspect this was a human trafficking incident. All the passengers gave the same home address as the subject's home address because they do construction on bunk beds there. And during the interview, Kilmar pretended to speak less English than he was capable of and attempted to put the encountering officer off track by responding to questions with questions. When asked what relationship he had with the owner, he said, well, the owner is the boss, my boss, and that he worked in construction. Encountering officer decided not to cite the subject for driving infractions, but gave him a warning for driving with an expired driver's license. Okay, it's like the craziest thing ever. Like, if you've been stopped, you've gotten a ticket. And I don't know about you, I've gotten like a registration ticket. You know, it's like, no, I'm like 3 days late. Sorry, pay it. What do you think? You got like rights? Pay that, deal with it. You know, cops just like doing laps in parking lots, just writing people tickets. Here, they're like, well, you have 8 illegal aliens. So if you had 10, I'd definitely stop you. But since it's 8, I'll just let you go, right? Everybody else gets prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for everything. Illegal aliens have premium version of America. They have due process plus. Ultra Max. Pretty nice deal if you can get it. And they get press conferences and they can come out and give these press releases where they're giving inspirational speeches to their soldiers in our homeland. Says here, encountering officer decided not to cite him, and his driver's license is limited term temporary. Encountering officer gathered names of the other occupants, but could not read their handwriting, of course. Why would they write anything legible? But did not pursue further due to no citation being issued. As a result, he did not pass the names, the dates, or the IDs to anybody. No incident report was created, but the computer-rated dispatch number is all here. And here, now on 10/10, there was an order that granted a withholding of removal. And we've read this many times. Per the George S. gang unit, Abrego was validated as a member of MS-13. He was identified as a member. Chicao from the Western Clique, a transnational gang. This information was provided by a tested source who had provided truthful, accurate information in the past. And they want him to have like multiple trials on that. Well, like bring him in, like prove that he's MS-13 before you can deport him or any of those things. That's not how it works. He's here illegally. You don't have to prove that he's also something bad in order to remove him. He's here illegally, plainly. That's the game. Now, immigration criminal history goes on. She writes the following. Jennifer Vasquez, his wife, who was standing right there next to him that we saw, who didn't look beaten or afraid, felt differently when she submitted this. She petitioned for an order of protection against him, saying she claimed he punched her, scratched her, ripped her shirt, and bruised her. And this was twice, by the way. According to court filings, Kilmar was also soliciting nude photographs of a minor. And they love this dude. All right, so that's what Homeland released for us, and some good details there from what Homeland saw. And now he's being processed. And this person here, Attorney General James Uthmere, he's over from Florida. He says, an illegal alien who was caught on camera trafficking more illegal aliens from the border was ordered released from jail by an activist judge. We saw that in Tennessee. He's picked up by Homeland now. But that doesn't change the final deportation order. And so enjoy your trip to Uganda. And we now need to learn a little bit more about Uganda before we read what their filing is, because they're obviously going to object to this. His lawyers freaked out. They said, well, he's going to Uganda. And we've talked about this in a prior video, but Uganda sent a whole letter to him and said, we're going to receive you. You're going to be taken care of as a resident. We'll give you refugee status. It's fine. Just chill out. You're not going to be under attack from the Barrios street gang or whatever he says. So he's going to go to Uganda. And the Uganda official language is English and Swahili. All right, it's right there, the official language. Now, he says he can't speak English. Part of the reason he can't go to Uganda. But the report we just read said he probably speaks a little bit better English than maybe he let on. But here's where Uganda is, one of the poorest countries in the whole world. And geographically, it's very diverse, but it's part of the UN. It's got a big East African community and Arab traders, lots of history there. Look at all this. Wow. He's going to have a great time. He's going to learn so much about a new continent. Look, they have Ugandan cobs. Wow. He's going to be able to watch Ugandan cobs trying to seduce each other. Wow. He's going to love that since he loves seduction of underage individuals. Anyways, corruption and more. So Kilmar on the way over to Uganda, as we're going to see. And here is what happened as soon as that order hit, right? As soon as Kristi Noem came out and said, all right, man, pack your bags. You about to be Uganda. He said, oh, how dare you? We are now going to sue and file a petition for a writ of habeas corpus, right? Saying that you are illegally detaining his physical person. And we'll read through it, but just look at all the stuff that came down here. Okay, so Jonathan Gordon Cooper sued on behalf of, entered an appearance on behalf of Kilmar. Simone E. Sandoval, Rena's coming in. This dude, we got a standing order that just came down. Some stuff was filed under seal. Bunch of other people are skidding in here. All right, we got Andrew Rossman, Sasha Rand, Olivia Horton. And then we had a telephonic conference that took place today with a very short oral order written down here in the docket. So they came crashing in, right? They were ready for this. They knew that he was going to get arrested, and they sued. And of course, the case went right back over to Judge Zenas, and she's handling the other case. And what is she going to do? Well, we'll see. But here's what they submitted. So they wrote to her, Your Honor, in March 2025, the government unlawfully arrested Kilmar and illegally removed him to El Salvador. That is wrong. In violation of withholding of removal to that country and without due process. Okay, so I want to spend just a little bit of time on that again, because that's incorrect. And they're referencing the order that they're referencing is a part of this filing. So they say, we're going to come back to that. The government admitted it removed petitioner in error. And they fired that lawyer. That was Iraz Ruvani. Okay, that lawyer got fired because that was wrong. They didn't illegally remove him to El Salvador. The withholding was really for Guatemala, as we'll see. So this court then granted an injunction. Days later, the Supreme Court said that they did have to facilitate his release and take all possible steps, but the government didn't do so, and they didn't return him. And we covered all this in Zenas's courtroom. Meanwhile, the government said, well, we're going to charge him with crimes, and they did. Now, meanwhile, the government said that if he is released, okay, if the Tennessee judge, after he's been charged for his human trafficking, if they release him, we're going to take him into custody. Homeland said, we're going to take him, we're going to remove him. He's going to go to either El Salvador or to a third country. Now, this court, okay, so we saw this handoff, right? It's like judicial collusion. So Kilmar got charged with crimes in Tennessee for the human trafficking incident that we all saw on camera, that he was just let go, okay, without a valid license, without, as far as we know, any proof of insurance. Could have killed somebody, could have done a U-turn in the middle of the highway and taken out a whole family or whatever. But the cops like, well, FBI said, hey, let him go. So they let him go. and nobody else would get that benefit. But of course, you have to be an illegal alien if you want that real privilege. So all of that is in Tennessee. The judge there was releasing Kilmar based on the nature of the charges and just said, well, we don't think he's a flight risk. We don't think, it's his first criminal charge. He's innocent. His like brother said that he's a really good person, the judge said. And like all of the other evidence stacked against him, the judges just let him out because that's what happens if you're an illegal. If you're if you're like an actual citizen, you would never get these same benefits, just to be ultra clear about that. But he does because he is part of a cause du jour, which is facilitating the illegal invasion of our country. So Tennessee releases him, but Zenas said from her court that she wanted him back there. So as soon as he leaves Tennessee, she said, you got to give 72 hours notice. And so he can travel back at least. She created like this window. So then he leaves Tennessee, makes his way back to Maryland-ish. They say, perfect. Well, okay. We sent notice on Friday and we read it on Saturday and saw that they then ordered him to show up to immigration. 72-hour notice has been provided and now we're going to remove him. So they're now suing for kind of this new cause, for this new arrest. This court was concerned. They said he's going to be removed without due process. So they held an evidentiary hearing and they ordered the government to, if he's released from Tennessee, you have to send him back to Maryland and give him written notice that he's got 72 hours before you do anything so that he can assert claims of credible fear, which we're going to read about from his first attempt at claiming credible fear. So then on August 22nd, the government noticed Kilmar's lawyers that it was going to remove Kilmar to Uganda. It's a nice place over there, though it provided no such notice as required to the petitioner. And we saw the notice. We read it in the email. They're going to say that it didn't comply with the notice because it's outside of the 72 hours would be my guess. But I think that the Trump DOJ probably looked into that and said that you can't count, that counts. Like you can count judge excluded the weekends, but the DOJ is saying we're counting the weekends, like that counts. And now the government has, without forewarning, it's not true. They did send him a total warning. They've taken him into ICE detention based on notice of removal to Uganda without providing him an opportunity to be heard on his expressed fears of persecution or torture in that country. So they say the court has jurisdiction to hear this. And Kilmar is a citizen and native of El Salvador. He resides in Maryland, illegally in our country. He's married to a U.S. citizen wife and has a minor U.S. citizen child. Now, Kristi Noem is the Homeland Secretary. She's cabinet level. Other people, Bondi, we know who they are. Now, as the Supreme Court held, civil detention may not become a mechanism for general deterrence. Lots of law here. Let's fast forward through it. And we'll just get to their analysis. Here we go. Now, here they talk about Kilmar. This has already been litigated, and they cite a bunch of these, and they cite their own case. We've already litigated this. Look, in the District of Maryland, look, in the Fourth Circuit, look, in the Middle District of Tennessee. And we've got a lot of stuff that we've already done on this. And so read those facts. In fact, they're also submitting a motion to dismiss for vindictive prosecution in the Tennessee case. Now, recently at a hearing on July 10th, in Zenas's court, a high-ranking ICE officer testified under oath that ICE does not begin working on determining a country for third-party removal, or even indeed whether ICE would try to effectuate third country removal until a non-citizen is detained by ICE. Okay, so in other words, you arrest first and then decide the country after. Here, they picked Uganda first and then went and arrested him. So they say this is false. Now you can see it's the opposite. Now he was released to U.S. Marshals from U.S. Marshals custody, and he was allowed to leave the jail and he went back to Maryland, right? They comply with the rules. Now, prior to leaving the jail, he was served with a notice saying you've got to show up in Baltimore on Monday. The stated reason, an interview. They go, oh crap. Shortly after his release from jail, his lawyer was served with a notice, said, well, Uganda is where he's going to go. We're going to interview him and ask him how he likes Uganda. And his answer isn't going to matter. The government, however, failed to serve him with a 72-hour notice so that before the removal process can begin. Now, he has expressed credible fear of persecution and torture in Uganda, and he wants a reasonable fear interview. Man, this guy, crazy. He wants Costa Rica as a preferred country of removal, so they want to send him to Costa Rica now. Now, he presented himself to ICE. Now, at that time, without forewarning, he was taken into custody. The officer who took Kilmar into custody did not respond to our request. They said, what are the charges? They just took him. Upon information, respondent detained Kilmar, they say, in order to punish him for suing about his illegal deportation to El Salvador, which wasn't illegal at all. And we want a bunch of things done now. Here is our cause of action. We say that he's violating, the government's violating U.S. law. They're not giving him the proper time and due process in order to contest all this stuff. And here they say they want to remove him to Uganda, but he's going to face persecution and torture there. What? He's going to remain at risk of refoulement to El Salvador. They've given us no assurances that Uganda is not going to send him back to El Salvador. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has publicly stated it will not accept individuals with criminal records. Petitioner has been indicted. Uganda also stated it prefers individuals from African countries shall be the ones transferred to Uganda, and this dude is not from Uganda. Notably, at least one country has agreed to accept deportees. So, man, now they're a little freaked out, it sounds like. Now they're like buckling, like, well, just send him to Costa Rica, okay? Don't send him to Uganda. Which, it's too late for that. I mean, he could have gone to El Salvador. They would have he had a nice little, bedroom down there. But no, he wants to just pick all, like, does he want to stay at a Four Seasons too down there in Costa Rica? Petitioner realleges and incorporates by reference the following paragraphs. And so here's what they want. We want an order to show cause. Why did they start this process without giving us actually 72 hours of notice? The judge said the weekends don't count. Can't count the weekends in the 72 hours. They did. They sent it on Friday and they arrested him today. Enjoining them says, do not remove him to Uganda without concluding his reasonable fear and withholding proceedings. Don't let him get removed because this is all violating his due process rights coming from the illegal alien representation. All these people, Cooper, Horton, Rossman, Rand, Anderson, Nitze, Wang, Goldstein, and the rest of them. All right. So all out of New York, of course. So that is what they submitted and they were ready to go. And man, Kilmar, he has like the best lawyers ever, man, filing in here, going hog wild. Now, what's interesting is part of their submissions, as you'll see here, they dropped a bunch of stuff, including Exhibit A. And Exhibit A, if you recall, is this order that came down from Judge David Jones back on 10/10/2019. And this is a critical part of this case that has been overlooked thus far. But here is the official order, okay? The question is, Kilmar's in our country illegally. He does not want to leave. He says, I've got credible fear. Okay, credible fear of what? Well, if I go back to this country, something's bad's going to happen to me. Okay, what country and why is the story? So we have to answer that. And the country and the why have to be connected. Because if they're not connected, like if your why is in another country, then we can send you to that country. Because the reason for your harm and your fear and your torture is not connected. Like they got the cause of concern has to be in the country, okay? Now, the judge wrote this in this order, which is not clear, but he says, the judge, the respondent's application for asylum, so Kilmar, can he stay in this country claiming asylum? No, that is, of course, denied because he was in our country forever, like years before that claim came out and he didn't make it in time. Number two, the respondent's application for withholding of removal, which is you do not send them to another outside third-party country. We're going to find out what country in a minute is granted. Okay, never argued that it wasn't granted as to a country. The question is what country? And the respondent's application for withholding of removal under the Convention Against Torture is denied. Okay, so that's the order. Now, the paragraph preceding, that's the final end of the document. The paragraph preceding this is going to be the conclusion. And you're going to have a bunch of people who are just not that, I think, astute, who are saying things like, this is a typo, and this is a mistake, and this is a scrivener's error, and all this stuff, which is really strange if that's true. Why Kilmar's lawyer submitted the old erroneous document in their filings. If this is wrong, why do they keep submitting it? Why was it just a scrivener's error? Where's the corrected document? This is the right document. The poison pill attorney, Irez Ruvani, just poisoned this case from the very beginning, and the DOJ never caught it. So here is the conclusion. Okay, we just read the order. So the next logical question is, of course, what country and what is the scope of the granting of the withholding of removal? Well, the judge explains it to us very clearly right here. He says, Kilmar's application is time barred for asylum. Okay, too late, can't file for that one. However, he has established past persecution based on a protected ground. We do find it. And the presumption of a well-founded fear of future prosecution. Now, Homeland has not shown that there are changed circumstances in what country? Guatemala, right there, that would result in his life not being threatened or that relocation is possible or reasonable. Therefore, because his application is granted as to Guatemala, okay? Elsewhere, the rest of his claims against torture claim fails because he's not going to show that he's going to be tortured. He hasn't shown that. It says Guatemala clear as day. And the logic of the decision supports that. So why is it Guatemala? And if something could change there, right? Well, what if we could change? What if something could change? Are there changed circumstances? Did something happen? Did the people who were attacking him get imprisoned? Did the political environment change? Did anything change in Guatemala so that he could go back? No, the judge said no. Why? And why does he have to go back to Guatemala? Well, because that's where his family is. And if you scroll back up in this opinion, and we've read through this, so the judge said no relief under claims against torture. So we just get rid of that whole section, right? So he doesn't get a privilege there to stay in the country. And as you see right here, we have to have a nexus to the country in order to be protected from going there. Okay, it's the why and the where. Why? I'm under attack. Where? Guatemala. Well, what's your nexus to that country that you don't want us to send you back to? They're going to explain it. So to be cognizable under the statute, in order for Kilmar to even have a claim, members have to be of a particular social group, and there must be a common immutable characteristic. You got to be part of an affected group. The law says this. Here, what are some of these groups? Got to have particularity. It's got to be socially distinct and more. Now, family ties may be a social group, the judge is going to say, okay? And so Kilmar has to be a part of a group. You got to shove him with some group somewhere. Well, what is it? What could it be? Ascertaining if the family is a group can be one reason. He gives us a bunch of analysis. And the evidence in this case quite clearly indicates that at least one central reason that Kilmar was being prosecuted in the past was due to him being his mother's son, okay? That's the group. That's the connection to the social group that's required by the statute. Essentially, as a member of his nuclear family, that the respondent is his mother's son is the reason why he and not another person was threatened with death, because they were coming after him and his mama. He was threatened with death because he was Cecilia Mama's son. And the Barrio 18 gang targeted Kilmar because they wanted the mama's papusa business. They wanted her papusa money, man. Give me that papusa or else, lady. Pursuant to unambiguous and repeated guidance, this is the nexus requirement. Okay, you've got a nexus. Kilmar, mama's under attack. Kilmar's under attack. That's the danger. Where is the danger happening is the next story. So, the social group is validated, okay? Immediate family members of the Abrego family. It's cognizable. His family is the group that he's a part of. Now, then you have to have social distinction, and they say it is socially distinct, and more. Now, this case is a close call, right? But the court finds that he has established that the family papusa business was well known in the community, and therefore the family was socially distinct in society. And so the papusa business is where the nexus is. And there's another area in here where it says Guatemala. Let me just do a Control F. Yeah, there it is. Now here is where they said at present, even though the family has now shut down the papusa business, Barrio 18 continues to harass, this is key, and threaten his two sisters and parents in Guatemala. The nexus, the family connection, the where and the why. The why is the family's under attack because of the pupusa business. He's a part of the family. The where is Guatemala because that's where they are. And now, right, continues to harass them. Barrio 18 is still there. Additionally, they've targeted the brother-in-law who now lives with the family in Guatemala too. That's why when you assess it all, the withholding of removal, as the judge wrote in the conclusion, is Guatemala because the family's in Guatemala. Kilmar's a part of the family. They're still there getting threatened. Now, practically back in 2019, Trump was not going hog wild with these deportations, right? So practically, if you got a withholding of removal, it's like, okay, well, you're not on like the top priority deportation list. So they just kind of just let you go. All right, you're not high priority, and we're not going to go through the trouble of finding a place to ship you. Now, Trump is doing that, right? And so all of this is lawful. It was lawful from the very beginning, but the lawyer that they're referencing was fired. His name was Iraz Ruvani. He's going to go get a job somewhere, probably work with Mark Elias or something like that. And so they submitted that. Okay, that was in their new filing. That's not an old document. That is their current attachment, which shows exactly that this was rigged from the beginning. And so what else we got? So we got other documents that were filed under seal, and these are also newer documents. Let's see what we got with C, D, E, F, and G, and just take a quick look at these. I had some others queued up, but here, yeah. So here was the letter. We already covered this in a prior video. This was the letter from the embassy in Costa Rica. Costa Rica saying, we're going to take good care. We'll accept him. Okay, they submitted that. Costa Rica will allow you to come in here, and it's going to be great. They also sent this in as Exhibit D. Here was the notice to appear for his interview date, which we saw that, of course, happened today. Exhibit E, as you can see, is the notice. We've already covered this document, which is from the Charles Wall, principal legal advisor over at Immigration, saying you are on notice now that he's going to be deported. And so they're having, you can see what's happening now. So they're having a battle over what does 72 hours actually mean. So they say, you need to give us, Kilmar's team says, you need to give us 72 hours before you even initiate removal proceedings. They say, no. We'll give you 72 hours before we put his butt on a plane. All right. But the removal proceedings can start now. But we won't actually remove him. He's not going to be removed to Uganda until those 72 hours are up, which are basically going to be very soon. Right. So, but they also got to stay from the judge right now. So that got submitted. We also saw, here's Exhibit F, which was submitted today. Notice of fear of removal to Uganda. Wow. He says, I, Kilmar, hereby state that I fear prosecution in Uganda on account of my race, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. What, MS-13? Or your family's pupusa business? I also fear torture or by or at the acquiescence of a public official in that country. And finally, is that a typo? Did they let that country will refoul me, redeport me to El Salvador, where I also fear persecution on account of the above mentioned protected grounds and torture by or at the acquiescence of a public official where I have been tortured in the past. All right. So that's Kilmar, Exhibit F. And did he, like I said, pretending that he wrote that, or did his lawyers write that and put a big fat typo right there? Finally, oh gosh, it's strange because his English is pretty good. Like, did he just screw up the word fear, but he knows what refoul, acquiescence, and persecution are? All right. So, obviously that's some lawyer bonehead types this up. Let me just make an intentional typo here so it looks like he can't speak English and like he signed it. All right. Anyways, so he signs that. Yes, we know. You're afraid of what? You could make that same argument for any country in the world, which they would love to do, so that you can't send him anywhere. They want to send him back to Costa Rica so that he can just hop on a boat, go right back over to Mexico, and come right back into Maryland. It's probably why. And we need at least an ocean of separation now. Okay, we tried to be nice with this dude. He could have been in El Salvador, but he didn't want to do that. And so now he's going to Uganda. going to be gone to Uganda. All right, they also sent this. I, Kilmar, designate Costa Rica as the country to which I want to be removed. And I wonder if they'll negotiate and just say, fine, man, you're gone. Like, you're just gone, get out, and close it out. But this is what's happening. And of course, he always was appropriately removed to El Salvador. And what's also curious about this is there is other stuff that's being filed under seal. Don't know exactly what it is, but we'll keep our eye on it. And of course, this was the entire gang sheet, 13 pages that came out from Prince George County Police Department, gang field interview sheet. And the argument is that this guy didn't get any due process. And of course he did. He was investigated. They wrote full reports about it. They had follow-ups on it. He had immigration appeals on it. Here's the board's decision. All of this is due process. And look here, the appeal is dismissed. He got so much due process, he even got an appeal on it. And bond proceedings. He tried to get out of custody here. It's all documented and chronicled. The guy got plenty of due process. But the illegal aliens need a cause. I mean, the Democrats need a cause, and the illegal alien constituency, which might be, I don't know, 30 million. You saw the numbers, about 55 million visas, which I think was total visas that maybe some of those people are not still here, but okay, cut it in half. Almost 30 million visas plus 30 million illegals. All right. Now we see that today, all of that got filed and the hearing took place this afternoon. Here's what it sounded like. Kyle Cheney, reporting for Politico, explains that in the hearing today, Judge Zenas' courtroom with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the wife-beating, human trafficking illegal alien, said that she is leaning towards another restraining order to block the deportation of Kilmar to Uganda, at least through this week, because she's the real president. She wants an evidentiary hearing on Friday. Now, Zenas says that law may require deportation to his country of choice. She said, well, if he wants to go to Costa Rica, and if Costa Rica is going to send it to him, so I might just give him refugee status if they vow not to redeport him to El Salvador, right? So they're kind of like backtracking on this. Like, okay, you can deport him, just not to Uganda. Just please don't send him to Uganda. Says Uganda has made no promises like that. Now, Zenas, of course, is the same judge, the Obama appointee, says that she had serious concerns about the claim that DOJ pressured Abrego into a guilty plea. It's not a pressure. It's just an option. And this happens to every single American citizen defendant who's charged with a crime all the time. Oh, no, you can take this plea deal if you want, but if not, that's fine. We'll just go to trial. And then, of course, it's going to get worse for you because we're going to ask for a harsher sentence. It's called the trial tax. Everybody knows this. It's a consequence of making decisions in our justice system. It's how it works. And if you got a problem with plea bargaining, well, then you can take that up with the Supreme Court and the Constitution and battle that out elsewhere. But don't lecture us because you're upset at an illegal alien is getting the same conversation that every other criminal defendant is given. Take this deal. We'll do this for you. You give us this. We'll forego all this. It's a deal. Happens every day. Drew Ensign says Abrego's deportation is not imminent given the pace of third country removal. So we are taking some time. We got a lot of full flights, Judge. So he'll be around for a while. Judge says to DOJ, your clients to Ensign, your clients to Trump are absolutely forbidden at this juncture to remove Mr. Abrego from the continental United States, says Judge Zenas, who is the president of the country now. Ensign says, Your Honor, yes, we certainly understand that. Abrego's lawyer says, Your Honor, our client is currently detained in Virginia, and I want you to bring him here within 200 miles of your courthouse so that he can show up for hearings. Zenas orders Abrego not to be moved in order to ensure that he has access to counsel. Say, well, actually, if we move him, then you can't see him, so he can see us, but then you can't get to him. So how about we leave him there and you go get to him, and then you can represent him here. Zenas asks Ensign, the DOJ, is my oral order enough, Drew? Knowing that Ensign has argued in Boasberg's court that his oral order wasn't good enough and that he needed the written order to turn the plane around. So it's kind of like an underhanded comment because this judge is biased as hell. Ensign says the oral order is fine. He says, no, it's fine, Judge. Oh, sounds like you're a little sensitive, Judge Zenas. You're paying extra close attention to what's happening in Boasberg's courtroom. You got mad because Ensign was using that argument there. Like, don't use that in my courtroom. So you're pretty invested in all of the efforts to stop Trump. Interesting. Now, Judge Boasberg writes, Cheney, will be very interested in Ensign's agreement to abide by the oral order, given that they argued in Boasberg's court that the oral order was not binding. That was to turn an airplane around in midair. In midair. All right. The judge said you had to turn him around. All right. So that's what happened today. And we got some other people meeting with this person. Here is Senator Chris Van Hollen, who comes from basically CIA family, State Department, CIA family, flew right down there to meet with Kilmar and probably talk with the rest of the MS-13 gangbangers. He says, today I spoke with Kilmar. The courts and public outcry, mostly the courts, I don't know about public outcry, it's from your side, to return him to Maryland, but Trump's cronies keep lying about him in his case. What are we lying about? We just read the documents right here. Do you have a document that shows why the document submitted by his wife is invalid? We'll read it. Because we just read her words about getting beaten by him. We read the Tennessee Highway Patrol words, saw their video. We saw it. So he calls it a malicious abuse of power. And man, he's fighting so hard for this illegal alien. It's a strange thing. Like, he doesn't even fight this hard for any American. I've never seen him fight that hard for any American citizen ever. Crazy. So here's Gunther Eagleman. He posted this about Tom Homan. Tom Homan was talking about this yesterday. And he said, Kilmar is not going to be here. Okay. There was notice that he's going to be sent out. And he hadn't been arrested yet when Tom was speaking, but here's Tom.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Obviously, a fast-moving case. Abrego Garcia's lawyer says the government is, quote, weaponizing the immigration system against him. My question is, what's your response to accusations that you're weaponizing the immigration system? And will, in fact, Abrego Garcia soon be heading to Uganda?
He is absolutely going to be deported from this country. He's not going to walk the streets of the station. So he can enjoy the little time he has with his family. And for the person who says we're not going to separate family, well, his family can go with him because he's leaving. He's going to be deported. Look, he's a criminal alien. He's a member of MS-13, which is now a designated terrorist. He's a wife beater. He's a human trafficker. He's been indicted for human trafficking and alien smuggling. He's a bad person. He's not going to be here. He's been order removed twice. Order removed by 2 different federal judges. He's going to leave this country in the very near future, and his family can go with him. I can't see who was talking before the sound bites, but whoever said we're taking advantage of broken immigration system, what do they do? What do those people do the last 4 years about this broken immigration system? They let 10.5 million people cross that border.
At least.
Sex trafficking women and children, all-time high. Overdose deaths of fentanyl, all-time high. Number of terrorists, all-time high. They didn't do anything to fix it. President Trump is keeping his promise to American people to enforce the law, and that's what we're doing. We're making this country safer every day by removing people like Abrego Garcia.
And just to follow up.
Yeah, man, Tom Homan not happy about that. You can see that fury in the furrowed brow, and we can relate to that. So here is what else is happening out there. But before we listen to these weird freakos, let's check in and see what else is going on with some arrests. Oh yeah, 2 Guatemalans where Kilmar's family is currently housed apparently were indicted in Florida for R-ing a 7-year-old. Wow, interesting.
Palm Beach County grand jury has indicted 27-year-old Josue Mendez Salas and 23-year-old Pablo Cabon Mendez on multiple counts of sexual battery on a child under the age of 12. Both men, originally from Guatemala and living in West Palm Beach, were recently arrested after the 7-year-old victim bravely came forward. Investigators say the abuse was not only frequent, but brutal. The child was reportedly sexually abused almost every day and beaten with a belt. Palm Beach.
Well, okay, so maybe Senator Van Hollen can go hang out with them next and bring them in part into the fold. Now, we also see that these are the people out there who are fighting for those types of folks, people who break into the country, people who beat their spouses, people who attack children, people who molest children. This is their new cause du jour. And here is what they sounded like outside on the streets in their Free Kilmar protest today.
Kilmar is our neighbor. You can't have him, Trump. No! Kilmar is our neighbor. You can't have him, Trump.
I don't even know what to say. Look at some of the hats. it almost feels just like a delusion. Like, are they crazy? Are they just crazy? Am I just wasting my time, like, trying to, like, analyze what the hell's going on here? Are they just nuts, maybe? Maybe they believe this is their philosophy, their communism. They actually believe in Karl Marx. Are they just, like, they could just be crazy, you know, just like, all right. So what can you do? You just kind of let them burn themselves out, I guess, and not pay much attention to them. But Homeland says Van Hollen is not going to stop fighting for illegal alien gangbangers, saying he didn't spend 1 second fighting for justice for Rachel Morin. Of course not. The young Maryland mother who brutally was murdered by an illegal alien. Where was Van Hollen on that one? Nowhere. That's why Noam, Trump, and others are working to protect Americans from illegal alien crime. And our friends at the Gateway Pundit asked a great question of the president about this today, and here's what Trump had to say.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Great question.
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, through a system of liberal courts, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. And Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it, Pam?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be. And as part of this operation here in D.C., we've also taken off MS-13 members. We've taken, I think just last night, we got a TDA guy off our streets right here, right around from where we all work. Another TDA member gone because of this project. So we're going to keep America safe from all of these foreign terrorist organizations, including Abrego Garcia.
All right. So that's what it sounded like at the White House. And Trump saying Pam Bondi is on it. So we'll see. Currently, it sounds like it's mostly with Homeland right now. So kind of Kristi Noem is handling it right now. But we'll see what ultimately happens. And we'll keep our eye on this. So Judge Zenas will schedule some deadlines. In fact, let's see what the latest final order was. Let's do a quick refresh before we close this out to see what the latest is. She says, here's my oral order. Says, until we have a schedule, so we don't have dates yet, so I was looking for, Kilmar Abrego is not to be moved from his current detention facility, principally to preserve access to both his criminal and habeas counsel, and further directing he is not to be removed from the United States. All done by telephone today. Judge Zenas, now the president of the country again, she is in charge, and she can stop the entire Homeland Security Department because of illegal alien due process rights or whatever it is they're making up for this one. So we'll keep our eye on this, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, so good update on that one. And hopefully he's packing his bags or they're packing them for him. Now, we got another update on the day. And here's another interesting one. More subpoenas coming out from the Oversight Committee. This one posted by James Comer today. He chairs the committee. Says, I have issued a subpoena to the Epstein estate for documents and communications in its possession, custody, or control in unredacted form. And this is important because what we have coming in very soon on September 19th is going to be Alexander Acosta. And he is the prosecutor who handled the early case back in 2007 and gave Jeffrey Epstein that sweetheart deal. So we've got some documents, and it sounds like they're going to be asking Acosta about them. And it's from the Oversight Committee. They posted this officially. They said, here's the latest update from Comer on the investigation into Epstein and Maxwell, publishing this today, saying, here's an update for you guys. All right, the House Oversight Committee announced updates. First, Comer issued a subpoena to Epstein. I got that part. Says the Committee on Oversight is reviewing the possible mismanagement of the federal government's investigation into Epstein and Maxwell, the circumstances and subsequent investigations of his death, the operation of rings of people and ways for the federal government to effectively combat them, and ethic rules violations that may have happened as well. It is our understanding that the estate of Jeffrey Epstein is in custody and control of documents that may further the committee's investigation and legislative goals. Further, it is our understanding the estate is ready and willing to provide these documents to us if we give them a subpoena, and so we've done that. And now, second, Comer announced Alexander Acosta, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida and former Secretary of Homeland, U.S. Department of Labor, will appear voluntarily for a transcribed interview on September 19th, okay? So he didn't have to get a subpoena. He just showed up, or is going to show up. Third, Comer announced the committee will accept formal written declarations from a couple people. Alberto Gonzalez, AG, Eric Holder, and Jeff Sessions. Okay, so they're all going to make written statements. Those are all former AGs under penalty of prosecution for false statements, stating they possess no information about these cases at all. Like, they better say, you got nothing. They were subpoenaed for depositions, but they responded through the counsel probably and just said, we have literally nothing to say. Know nothing about it. So if you bring us in there, we're just going to sit there and just say, I got nothing for you. So that's the announcement. Let's take a look at some of the documents. So here's what went over to the Epstein estate. Dear Mr. Weiner, the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is reviewing the mismanagement of the Epstein and Maxwell case, circumstances of the death, the rings that were in operation, because the government wants to stop them rather than encourage them. Now, it's my understanding that the estate of Epstein is in custody and control of documents that may be useful to us. And it's our understanding that you're ready to send them to us as long as we send you a subpoena. And so that's what we're doing. On July 6, 2019, authorities arrested Epstein. 2 days later, an indictment was unsealed which was minor and conspiracy. Minors, crimes and conspiracy. According to the indictment, Epstein exploited dozens of minors at his homes, and the indictment says that some as young as 14, all in exchange for money. This was not the first time that he'd been investigated for this either. In fact, in 2008, he pled guilty in Florida state court to 2 prostitution offenses, and in exchange, his co-conspirators got massive immunity. Everybody except Gouveia through a non-prosecution agreement. So then on October 10, 2019, Epstein died. Yeah. The chief medical examiner ruled it a suicide, but Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison later. So the facts and circumstances about these both cases have received immense public scrutiny. We sent a bunch of letters into this, and now we're here. Trump even posted about it on True Social. He says, I've asked Attorney General Bondi to produce all grand jury testimony, and their motions were filed. Of course, they were all denied. On July 22nd, Bondi posted a statement from Todd Blanche. And they ultimately posted the full transcript of this as well. On August 5th, the committee issued a subpoena to the DOJ for documents related to these 2 cases. Recent reporting indicates that the estate of Epstein has access to documents that are relevant to what we're looking into, including the birthday book that was prepared by Maxwell. The attached subpoena is for you. It's imperative that Congress conduct oversight of this because we don't want any more of this trafficking crap going on in our country. That's for sure. Sincerely, James Comer. Now that's just part 1. Part 2 is over here. This is the actual subpoena. Okay, so this is what they want. All entries that were in the leather-bound book compiled by Gouveia for the birthday. The last will and testament of Epstein, immediately preceding August 8th. All non-disclosure agreements. The non-prosecution agreement that he had executed, which we've already read. All documents and communications relating to that agreement. Any document that could be strewed as a potential list of clients who were involved with Epstein. All documents and communications about missed phone call logs or missed visitor logs. All entries that are referencing a black book, all flight logs, documents to show bank accounts and account numbers, financial transactions, cryptocurrency, ledgers, payments, calendar that he may have used all the way back to 1990 to 2019. A lot of different technology developments in calendaring. All documents and communications, including house manuals, instruction manuals for any properties rented or owned or anything for each one of these. He had a place in New York, Palm Beach, New Mexico, France, 2 addresses in Ohio, and of course the Virgin Islands. They also want all video, including security or any still photography taken at any of these addresses. Man, this is a nice list. All photographs, all CCTV. It's, oh no, we don't preserve any of that stuff. He's dead. Why would we need to preserve it? All documents and communications, numbers 1 through 92 that relate to Virginia Gouveia, or all vice presidents and presidents of the United States. Okay, so like if you're Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, Trump, all of them. We also want all documents about these entities, the various LLCs. And in complying with this, you've got to do a good job. Make sure that you produce them in the following files. We'll take a hard drive, memory stick. When you produce the documents, identify the paragraphs. If you don't produce something, tell us why. If it's no longer in your possession, explain where it was. Number your documents. 2 sets should be delivered, 1 to the minority, 1 to the majority. Document means everything, okay? If you ask, is it a document? The answer is yes, it is in that list. Communication and the rest of the definitions. And so Comer explaining, we want the records and they're getting a subpoena to deliver them. So there might be some good stuff in there, man. And we'll see what they've got in response to that. I think that the answer will be, we haven't preserved anything. We don't have much of anything at all. So we'll give you, this stack of manila file folders, which have nothing in them, but that's all we got. So we'll keep our eye on it, but it's nice to see Congress continuing on. James Comer leading the charge. We'll keep our eye on it. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, we got one more update today, my friends. Short little update. And then we'll hear from you. See what you have to say about all this. And check in on something. Making sure we're still coming in loud and clear and we're good. Yeah, good. Good to see everybody. All right, so we're still here. Now let's talk a little bit of California, and then we'll see what you have to say about all of this on this lovely Monday. But here is another one. Lawsuits flying around in California to stop their illegal redistricting scheme. They think that they can be like Texas, even though their laws are not like Texas. So they just kind of broke them. They said, well, this is an emergency, democracy, authoritarianism. And they had another person or committee or team of people create these new maps, even though the law says the independent body needs to make those changes. That never happened. And so now Mark Muser, and he's over with the Dillon Law Group. Of course, Harmeet Dillon, we know who she is. And the Dillon Law Group is still marching forward. And this is a new filing that was submitted, again, by California petitioners. And he posted this one today. So we've got Assemblywoman Catherine Sanchez, Tree Ta, Susie Villadares, Tony Strickland, Eric Ching, Mike Ward, Andrew Pandal, Roger Holland, all suing California, the legislature of California, and the Secretary of State, aka the Jenna Griswold, the Jocelyn Benson, the Chris Mays of California. Her name is Shirley Weber. And so here's what they sent in. And again, this is coming over from Mark Muser and their crew. He says, we just filed a lawsuit asking the California Supreme Court to stop the special election currently scheduled for November 4th because the California legislature and GAVIN violated the California Constitution by putting this ballot initiative on the ballot in the first place. Here's the lawsuit. It says, we argue that there is plenty of California Supreme Court precedent where the court has removed unconstitutional ballot initiatives before. All right. In other words, the Constitution is the standard. Voters cannot vote an unconstitutional statute into a constitutional one, unless, of course, they want to amend the Constitution. But this redistricting ballot initiative is unconstitutional because it asks the voters to vote on 2 separate issues. He explains. 1, voters are asked to encourage Congress to pass a U.S. constitutional amendment to require all states to have nonpartisan redistricting commissions for Congress. So everybody has to be like California. They're very mad that they created their own committee and their own process, and Texas doesn't have that. Like, what? So everybody needs to do it. Now, voters are also asked to support the California legislature's new maps that disregard the work of the Citizen Commission, which was already set up by law to make those changes. There are many voters in California who want to vote yes to the first question and no to the second question, but they can't do that. They're not going to be able to split their vote. It's like all or nothing. Now, this is a problem. This ballot initiative violates the single subject rule in California. And so in this new lawsuit, they argue that the redistricting ballot initiative is unconstitutional because at the time that the legislature drew the maps, they did not have the authority to draw the maps, which is why when they were asked about it, we saw all of the journalists, thankful for them, asking the question. They didn't want to talk about it. They just said, well, it's on the website. I know how to get on there. Well, somebody uploaded it. Well, I know, but who uploaded it? Well, tech support. Well, who gave them the file? Well, a committee. Well, who did that? It is well established that where our state constitution specifically confers power upon a government entity, the legislature cannot directly or indirectly remove that power from the commissions. And furthermore, even if the legislature had the authority to draw the lines, when they drew those lines, they violated the requirements set out in the California Constitution for how the maps are to be drawn, saying the lines were not drawn openly and transparently. No one knows who even drew those. Congressional districts 2, 9, 30, 40, and 47 are not functionally contiguous. The new maps disrupted numerous communities of interest that the commission worked hard to keep together. And while the commission is not allowed to consider political parties when drawing the lines, the new map is drawn according to party. And so we argue that the redistricting ballot initiative is unconstitutional because the California Supreme Court has ruled that the Constitution in California only allows one redistricting per decade. It's the law there. Last week, I filed a writ with the Supreme Court, which we read here, and that was denied immediately. And the court should stop the legislature from voting on this. We argued that the legislature had failed to wait 30 days after introducing a new bill before holding hearings on the matter. Now, the Supreme Court said we filed too soon, right? They said we can't hear it. Now that the legislature has voted and GAVIN has signed the bills into law, we are now back. We're renewing our petition saying that this does not permit this process of gutting and amending where you can just cut out an old... Remember, these were bills that they basically introduced. They this bill is like a man. This is a bill. It's a man. It's got like testicles and testosterone, all the things. And then at the very last minute, they transitioned it to something else. Just performed all the things. And suddenly this bill, walk in yesterday, it was like this big dude. Walk in today, it's now it's a redistricting creature. You're like, what is this? But that's California for you. So he says, the court ruled it was premature, and the bill was substituted in, gut and amend, right? In a republic, the Constitution is designed to protect the people from the tyranny of the majority, which is why democracy is not ideal. And it was never the structure of our society to be a pure democracy. However, in Gavi's world, might makes right. GAVIN is trying to use his might to destroy the California Constitution so that he can amass more power for himself and his party. There are only 3 things that can be done now to stop his power grab. 1, sue, which he has done and will continue to do. 2, vote no on Prop 50, which I'm sure they will not vote against because it's California. And 3, Congress needs to step in to enforce Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, called the United States shall guarantee to every state a Republican form of government. Wow, interesting. So great filing here over from this fellow, Mark Muser. We're going to repost this at the top of our timeline so you can give him a follow and support his work because it's good work. We appreciate the lawyers who are skidding in there in California. And now Trump is also thinking about getting into the game. Writing, the DOJ might be suing them too. Here is what Trump said today from the Oval. He said on Monday that they are going to sue, not may, they're going to, over Gavi's efforts to draw new Democratic-leaning maps. He says, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon. And I think we're going to be very successful in it, said Trump. We're going to be filing it through the DOJ. That's going to happen. Gavin said, bring it, as he does. Trump's announcement is going to challenge this. And of course, there's a big battle brewing between everybody on this. Newsom signed the bills. Trump put pressure on the states. And of course, the war is continuing to battle. Now, elsewhere, here was another interesting election update. This came over from Patrick Colbeck. He said on Friday last week, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, she was the one who rigged the prior elections. She said, we will come for you. And with that little psycho music playing in the background, it's like out of a carnival. Bing, ding, ding, bong, gong, bong. She's like, we're going to find you. You're like, oh my gosh, what a lunatic. She continued her blatant disregard for the House subpoena. So the Michigan House subpoenaed her some documents, and she's slow walking this whole thing. And she posted this apparently over on the website last week. Says, today, the Michigan Department of State provided 198 additional documents and 26 election videos over on our website. The training documents and videos have been reviewed. There's no sensitive information. Earlier this year, the House Oversight Committee issued subpoenas to us seeking full unredacted access to all of our training materials because Jocelyn was changing the training materials. Remember, like the law says, you have to check the signatures. So in her training, like the law, the statute, law, regulations, it's all official, have to check the signatures. Shall be checked. Shall have multiple, it's all in there. So then she just takes in the manual and she just changes the training. So when you have a bunch of these Democrat poll workers in there, they just kind of tell them, because they flood the rooms with them. They make sure that it's their people in there, not your people. And they're going to be doing the counting. So they bring them in and they just train them. Well, they say the law says we have to check signatures. And so how do we work with checking signatures? Well, when they come in, we just presume that they're valid because it came from a residence. And like so if it doesn't look, the process, if it doesn't look good, then just kick it out, right? You just check them. If they don't look good, then just kick them out. But otherwise, you should just default that they're presumptively valid. Like it has to be clearly off. That was the training. That is not the law at all. But that's how they were training things, right? And that's how they got around any, actual like violations of anything. Because it's just people who are just kind of processing things a little bit in favor of her party. So they said, can you give us the training material so we can see? And they responded, the department responded to the subpoenas from their house, reiterating its commitment to protecting any sensitive election security information. And if we give you this information about how we rig elections, well, then somebody could rig elections. Somebody could tamper with elections, or someone could impersonate a clerk. And so they also proposed, well, how about we have a third-party mediator? Okay, we want your training records, which are fraudulent and illegal, and outside of alignment with the law. She won't give it to you because if you show the documents, then she's like, well, you're going to rig the elections. The committee rejected the proposal and ultimately sued in Michigan court. And so on July 22nd, the Court of Claims issued an order for the Michigan House to participate in a mediation over these records, right? That session is scheduled for September 5th. And so they're battling over the training materials. It's like, why just give them the materials? Why is that not public anyways? So we can read it and see what's going on. But J.D. Vance was out today explaining his take on what's going on in the great redistricting war.
You have to ask yourself, why have Democrats gerrymandered their states aggressively over the past 10 to 20 years? If you look, for example, at the popular vote in a lot of these states, and Massachusetts, where 32% of the residents of Massachusetts voted for Republicans, 0 Republican federal representatives. So we're not trying to all we're doing, frankly, is trying to make the situation a little bit more fair on a national scale. The Democrats have gerrymandered their states really aggressively. We think there are opportunities to push back against that, and that's really all we're doing. So you have to ask.
That's it. They don't like it, though. They don't want you to play fair. If they execute the rules against you, if they want to prosecute your political opponents or kick you off ballots, or even just make up fake hoaxes about you saying that you got peed on by Russian hookers or something like that, they're allowed to do that because they're Democrats. And they're doing it in the interest of democracy and saving you. So don't get mad at them. But when Trump does it, it's because he's an authoritarian dictator. And the Texas effort is undermining democracy, which is their new term, which is made up to support what ultimately they want, which is permanent power and communism. And so J.D. Vance and others continuing to put pressure on this. We'll keep our eye on the lawsuits and see where it goes. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, my friends, what a beautiful day it has been. Thank you for being here and for being amazing and for sending in some awesome donos. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we talked about today. We started off with some Kilmar news and went through the filings. He's going to be going to Uganda. Kristi Noem and the others said that that is what is happening soon. But of course, lawyers came screeching in, crashing into the courthouse today, filing a demand to not remove him. There was a hearing that we covered, and the judge said, I'm going to prohibit you from removing him for now, but we'll have a further schedule released. And we'll see what those dates look like. So we got reaction on that, went through a bunch of court documents, reread the 10-10-19 order and explained that once again, because it's clear as day, and they submitted it in their own filings. Exhibit A submitted 825. So it's not a scrivener's error. What a stupid thing. All right, it's Guatemala. Confirmed. All right, so we talked about that. We talked about other Guatemalans who are here in our country, not managing crops. All right, we got that. Then we talked about Epstein. New subpoenas going out over to the Epstein estate. James Comer posted about it today. We got a nice list of documents here, honestly. If they get even half of it, that'll be pretty cool. My guess is they get virtually none of it. They're like, what? What documents? Oh, no. You know what happened? We accidentally emptied the recycle bin. Ugh, darn it. I hate when that happens. Hey, Mark Muser then also is suing in California. Shout out to Mark. Make sure you're giving them a follow, because that's some good work. And we appreciate them holding California and their illegalities accountable. And Trump might be suing as well. And so it was a beautiful stream, my friends. Happy Monday. I hope your week is off to just an amazing start. We're very glad that you're here. Let's see who's joining us. I saw some great donos come in. Thank you for supporting our work and sending these in. And thank you to Donut and John for clipping for us on the day. We got some great comments. I see some new membos coming in. What a beautiful day it is. Hey, what's up, K-Bean in the house too? And boom, here we are. Look who it is. It's Bugs Bunny. It says, it's Monday again. I better get ready for the day's shenanigans. That's kind of looks like Letitia James's face when she talks about illegitimate President Trump, doesn't it? Milo Phone Bill says the Trump administration absolutely forbidden from removing Abrego Garcia. Yeah, exactly. We saw that. The Hill's reporting it. And yeah, that's temporarily for now. Like, we'll see how long she can hold off on that and keep them from processing it, because I don't think she's really got jurisdiction over it. Milo Phone Bill says, you can't condition the relinquishing of a constitutional right in that regard, Judge Zenas said. Please explain which constitutional right Garcia is complaining about. Don't know. So he's saying probably due process. So it'd be like Fifth Amendment incorporated to the states via the 14th Amendment. And that's, I think, what he would be arguing. But he's already gotten due process. Like, he's already been adjudicated removable. Already happened. We read the whole order again today. So he signed a document. Is Zenas going to help him shop where he gets deported to? Yeah, yep, exactly. She started that today. Uganda was a smart play because it's going to freak him out. They're going to, holy crap, Africa? Yeah, you go to Africa if you want to see him. Like, you have to go over there. Like, okay, he'll go to Costa Rica. Okay, sorry for fighting with you. Just send him to Costa Rica. I kind of hope they don't. Bucky's is Rome says, we gave you a deal. You could have stayed in El Salvador and you had a hissy fit. We could have given you a deal. We would have moved you to Costa Rica. We could have deported you to some other country after you served your prison term if you took a plea deal. Now you want to avoid all criminality after committing crimes against the American people and get the privilege of just escaping all criminal justice and just going to Costa Rica. It's like, no, at the worst, even if you don't have to sit another day in an American prison for your criminal charges, Uganda's a better option. Bucky's is Rome. Trump is carrying the Republican Party and would win by even more votes today. And the peoples he's carrying pay him back by not confirming his people and spending time on Epstein instead of going after Democrats, their judges, or their NGOs. People vote for Trump, not the GOP. And people want results where the midterms are going to be a very close thing, if not a loss for the GOP. The goo in Congress should be 24/7 sending out subpoenas to every Democrat, every judge, every NGO, and impeaching judges. I'm totally with you on that, Bucky's, by the way. Yeah, like Trump, the shock and awe of the first 30 days was pretty awesome. The pardons, there was a lot of big things happened pretty quickly, but things are pretty quiet. Now, things are also a little early. This is my hedge on this topic. Is things are pretty early, right? It's only August. If you're going to see indictments and stuff, but that's from the Trump administration. Okay, so I think your comment is really more about the GOP and the Congress, and unequivocally, they have been pathetic. They should have formed a J6 select committee immediately, re-gone through that whole thing, opened that up, exposed all of that. There should be other committees for Crossfire Hurricane. Where the hell is that? An Obama coup committee? Where's that? Form your select committee. Fill it with whomever you want. Doesn't matter. Nancy Pelosi did it. It doesn't matter. Just put someone on. Make it up. Because the courts have said that they're allowed to do that. The courts don't even interfere. We can't interfere with a separate branch. So we'll just let Nancy do whatever she wants. And have a totally illegally constituted committee. No impeachments at all for any of these judges, even though Gorsuch castigated them. Not even talking about impeachment. I know. I'm with you on that. They are other than sending letters, going on Fox News and just running their mouths. And we like, a lot of the things that they talk about and they stand for. We just want to see some action right now. And how are they going to squander this? Where we got every lever of power. They're just going to sit back and be like, well, yeah, Epstein. Send a bunch of letters and do a bunch of depositions, which we want to get to the bottom of the Epstein stuff too. But it's okay, don't just work on that and tell us you're doing something that is sufficient for all of the demands. There's a short window here, fellas. So let's get to it. What's up, Chubby? It's just amazing how these same judges keep getting these cases. They're missing out not playing the lotto with such luck. Yes, that was meant to be sarcastic. Yeah, it goes right back to Judge Zena. She's like, wow. Now, she probably got it because she's handling his other case. But it is, right? Interesting how the cases get divvied out. Good to see you, Chubby. Hey, Jay Marino, what's up? New York City Mayor hopeful Zohran Mamdani had a lavish Uganda wedding. Is he from Uganda? Marxist left-wing LGBT++++ metrosexual gets married in Uganda? But it's too dangerous for deportation? Explain that. Is that where he was? In Uganda? Is he from Uganda? Even better for Kilmar. He can go hang out with Mamdani's family. Uncle Bozy. Rob, if a judge orders me to do or not do something, and I either ignore his order or defy it, I will quickly be back in front of that judge for a show cause hearing trying to explain why he should not throw me in jail for contempt, right? Yes, nailed it. So how does this not apply to federal district court judges who ignore or defy the Supreme Court rulings? Well, does SCOTUS not have the authority to hold them in contempt? Are federal judges immune from being sanctioned from contempt? No, I don't think that they are. And I think, yes, the Supreme Court does have the power. The Supreme Court could absolutely rein this in. What you're seeing right now is kind of like a game of chicken a little bit. So the law operates in many ways with like a gentleman's agreement kind of a thing. So if the Supreme Court comes back down and just let's say they came down hard on Boasberg or came down hard on Zenas, it would rattle all the judges. They would say, what's going on? Is the Supreme Court overstepping? It's an expensive move. It's like if you've ever led a team meeting or run a business or something like that, if you snap on your team, right? You're an even keeled, unless you're somebody who snaps on your team all the time. But I think this is a good analogy. If you're hosting a team meeting and you bring everybody in and you scream at them and you're not normally doing that. Effing just the mother, son of a, I can't believe, go crazy. Maybe it gets you the result that you want, but it might also do a lot of long-term damage to your credibility and your reputation, right? That's an expensive move, in other words. It costs you something. So what is that cost? And when it comes to the courts, it's kind of like this gentlemanly agreement. Like, we're all lawyers. We all know how to behave ourselves. Everybody knows to keep your hands to yourselves. And if you don't do it, you know, you get scolded and then you behave. But Gorsuch, I think, is getting to the end of that line. He's like, we've had 3 cases now. You're not listening to us. So from there, like, is the Supreme Court going to get to the point where they got to step in? They really shouldn't. It should be Congress saying right now they need to go impeach these people. Just put some pressure on them, impeach them, and then you know, the Supreme Court can kind of stay out of it. But it could cause like a you know, a vertical split. So I think they're reticent to do it. And honestly, judges are normally not so disobedient. So like, this is a new phenomenon where their partisan liberalness is infecting the normal jurisprudence. Doan, what's up, Doan? Hey, I'm missing Wes Downer and Bruce Rice Baby. And so Doan, I tried to add them today, actually in our in our studio. And I cannot, so first of all, they're neither blocked. I have them as neither blocked and I can also not add them to the community for whatever reason. So, and I don't see their name. So like Bruce Rice. So I looked and I emailed Wes about it too. So I responded to an email from Wes. So trying to figure it out. My apologies that it's not working. Doan says 70 languages in Uganda. The most spoken one is Luganda. Is that a joke that I'm not getting? Probably. Doan, thank you for that. Luganda. We had fun with Uganda. I think it was this morning or on Saturday. We talked a lot about you about to be Uganda, and a lot of the permutations of that. Boris, my Slav in the house. Boris, my Slav in the house. Thank you for becoming a supporter, Boris. Very nice to have you. Milo Phone Bill says, Kilmar had a really nice conversation with the cop in Cookville. Yeah, there's the traffic stop. Yeah, with 8 illegal aliens in the back of the car. This old guy says, Kilmar Abrego is officially a flight risk. He's at great risk for a flight to Uganda. It's true. He is a flight risk. There's a high risk that he's going to be on a flight to Uganda. That's great. Hey, PSU Bond, thank you for that, this old guy. There's a high risk that he's going to be on a flight for sure. PSU Bond. He is going to end up back at CCOT via Uganda. Yeah, he might go try to molest some Ugandan over there. And maybe they're not going to, you know, I don't think they'll take too kindly to that. There. Maybe not, maybe. FD Man, the charge is being in the U.S. illegally. Kilmar's lawyer is, boy, is he dumb, says FD Man. Good to see you, FD Man. Thanks for watching on Rumble. P. Dunn in the house. What's up, P. Dunn? Thank you for the cup of Joe. P. Dunn in the house. Looks delicious. I'll drink that one. P. Dunn, thank you, PD Dunn. Great to have you. First super chat on a live stream, PD Dunn. Well, thanks for making us your first. We appreciate that. It's an honor. Nikki P, 26 months as a member. Can I send a prayer request for me? I'm very ill. Nikki P, of course. And I'm sorry to hear that. And if you are ever willing to share some more details, people can pray specifically for what's going on. But absolutely, we want you to heal. And we know that the healing power of our Lord and Savior and the healing energy of the universe will be guided your direction. And there are some amazing prayer warriors out there in the chat. So thank you, Nikki P. Thanks for being here for 26 months, sending you some good healing energy. John McGarvey, Rob, where is the DOJ lawyer working that admitted in error that Kilmar was deported in error? I haven't seen anything about that yet. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's probably on hiatus right now. So he's like fired, left. I don't know if he's ended up anywhere. Well, I haven't really looked too hard. But I kind of expect to see an announcement about it. Like he'll go to some law firm and they'll make an announcement. Former DOJ attorney is now joining our team. Probably about a year. Like he'll take some time off. He might sue. Maybe he'll file a lawsuit. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know where he's at. But yeah, poison pill attorney. He did a great job. Did his job perfectly well. T Testes, what's up? Huh. Well, that's the first time I've heard Guatemala from T Testes. With, I think, is that sarcasm? Are you tired of hearing me say Guatemala here? It's important. It's true. James Skip, what's up? I wrote a white paper showing Dems aid and abet racist Mexican CSAM policy via illegal immigration through a de facto remnant of La Caste, an old de jure system excluding ethnic groups from power, forcing them to the U.S. Wow. That sounds like a fascinating white paper, James Kipp. You should publish that on Substack or something. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm listening to a book right now. What's it called? Fear and Hopelessness, something like that. Tyranny and Hopelessness. It's kind of in that vein. It's pretty good. Tragedy and Hope. Not even close. Anyways, yeah. But it's about like the global cabal of people who are really running the planet. It's interesting. James Kipp, what's up? Thank you for the nice dono. FD man, what's going on? Kilmar got more than anyone ever has. Zenus rhymes with screwing case law in immigration laws. That's true, FD man. Yeah, he gets premium version of America. He's better than all of us. Knox, hey, happy Monday, all. Offer is good for today only is routinely said all day, every day. Knox is a defense attorney in Texas. Yeah, thank you, Knox. Thank you, Knox, for confirming that. It's absolutely right. You want me to go tell my client he's got to go to prison for 3 years and he has to decide today? Are you crazy? Yeah, otherwise it expires. Prosecutors do that all the time. In fact, you have like early disposition courts where they give you really good plea deals as long as you accept them in like 6 weeks. You got to go real fast. You really don't get discovery. You can't do interviews. You can't do anything, but it's early disposition. So they'll give you a good deal. Now, if you say, well, why would I just take a plea deal? I haven't even seen the evidence really yet. They give you like a little stack and you only get this. If you make them work, then you waive out of early disposition court. Then you go down the trial track. You get a little bit more evidence. Now you get assigned a full prosecutor who's really unhappy that he got a new case, and then you pay the penalty for that. And as a matter of policy, we had it for a while in Arizona in Maricopa County where it was their policy. They would say, Your Honor, he's rejecting the plea. It's Maricopa County's policy that any subsequent offer will be substantially harsher. They said it on the record all the time. But for Kilmar, that's shocking for Judge Zenus. She can't understand it. Chubby, she's asking about Boasberg because they're all colluding. Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's following their case. I think it'd be interesting to see the stats so far on her rulings for each side. She hasn't even taken interest in validating their claims. Like, how has the judge not read what we read in that order and just said, oh, Guatemala? So maybe there is an argument for El Salvador. Why the DOJ hasn't even made it, I don't know. But Judge Zenus also doesn't have the full file. Kilmar's people don't have the full file. I think the only people that do is probably the government. FD man, nobody gives two craps about Kilmar. He just won't go away. It's true. FD man, immigration laws are not broken. It was the Democrat policies to enforce those laws that are broken. Chat with me says the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, claims locking up criminals does not stop crime. So if locking up doesn't work, why can't we do what the United Kingdom did with other criminals and just ship them to another continent? Nope. Judge Zenus says no. Best not get Musk involved. I know what is inhabiting his settlement on Mars. You think Kilmar should go to Mars? I don't know. I don't think he's competent enough. FD man, those psychos in pink look bad. Former, that free Kilmar had no rhythm and needed some black people in there, of which I saw none to help them out. Black people, please help the white people from Former. It's a good request. So they definitely needed it. King of Biltong, try our authentic Angus and Wagyu beef Biltong, baby. Air dried, bold, savory flavors. High protein, low carb. Get yours at BiltongUSA.com. Use code Robert. You'll save 10% off. And you'll get some deliciousness delivered. Serrano Guardias, what's up? My brother. Kilmar shall soon know the way of Ebola. Aggressive tongue clicking and spitting. We must protect the queen. My brother, Kilmar, shall soon know the way of Ebola. Is this a racist super chat? I don't think so. I think it's honoring the ethnicity of Uganda, clearly. Thank you, Serrano, for that one. And I think my reading was pretty good. I think it was pretty good. Chat with me. When Healing Borden hits hard, delusional Democrats say, our neighbor Kilmar Abrego. Oh, this is a poem. Hang on. So let me do it right. When Healing Borden hits hard, here's delusional Democrats. Our neighbor, Kilmar Abrego, DHS and Trump want to make go. We want him to stay, continue his way, perverting our country. We say so. The Trump cabinet and the MAGA. Okay, so that's from the libs. They love perverting our country. Trump and MAGA says, Abrego, the alien is out. Our country is what this is about. Always he will go. The judges will show. This is our country. We shout. That's good. Those are limericks. Pfft, well done. Hey, Don says, Uganda wanna check out the El Salvador Guatemala mix. Uganda wanna check out the El Salvador Guatemala. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Don, for that one. It's true. Number 2 in the chat. Hey, Pepper Mom. What's up, Pepper Mom? Welcome aboard as a supporter. Great to have you. Stand United Republic says the Millennial Millie coup report is still factual 100%. So check it out. Millennial Millie coup report from Stand United Republic. Thank you, Stan. Ziggy Girl, a caller on C-SPAN Washington Journal gave you a shout out this morning. Great job, Rob. What? Really? That's amazing. Hey, shout out to whoever called in. Thank you for doing that. How fun is that? A caller on C-SPAN Washington Journal. Shout out. Amazing. Thank you for that. Whoever that was. Appreciate that. How fun. What did they say? Here's a YouTuber. All right. FD man, what's up? GOP Congress needs to poop or get off the pot. That is true. Knox Bierman, sending prayers over for Nikki P. Prayers up for Nikki P. Dan Sundin, what's up, says, the DOJ attorney who filed was fried and fired, definitely. Hey, Uncle Bozy says, thanks for responding to my judge contempt question, but isn't the SCOTUS damaging its credibility by not acting? Yeah, maybe. It seems to me that Boasberg being ordered to appear for a show cause hearing would get the attention of all judges, even if he wasn't thrown in jail or fined. I have confidence in Congress impeaching judges anytime soon. Probably don't. Yeah, it would. It definitely would. Like, it would be a big deal. All right. Like, and so it has to be worth it. So if the Supreme Court did it, it'd have to be worth it. And the judges would have to, you know, I think have a little less plausible deniability. They still have some, like, well, they're still writing their opinions saying, well, this other precedent says that I can actually hold you in contempt, even though my original order was rescinded. And the Supreme Court, to Roberts' failing, I think has been not clear in a lot of these things. Like, they could have settled a bunch of this stuff and just said, this is the rule, just go back down. But they had to wait, man. They waited a lot. We even saw that. Remember when they gave the decision back to, it was that one decision from Amy Coney Barrett about the deportations in Texas. One of the most egregious decisions we've read recently remember, they kicked it back down to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and said, you guys decide. But the judge who acted expeditiously, they scolded him. It was ridiculous. Yeah, that was a bad one. Woodworking pastor, what's going on? SCOTUS says they are under bad behavior. They are under bad behavior. Yeah. I think the idea is you hope, it's like you talk to your bros and you hope that they'll be better, and they're not. Bruce Rice, baby. Rob, please say hello to my friends at YouTube for me, please. Bruce, I tried to, so there's two things I check. One, did you accidentally get banned? Did not see your name in the ban list. Then I go and try to add you as an approved user, and I can't find your account. Now, that might be because YouTube is changing the account names or something like that. So if you have your official YouTube account and you can send that to me, then I can look it up and try to add you. Same goes with Wes Downer. Ziggy Girl, he corrected the woman about Guatemala and told her to watch your show that you had the sauce. Woo, Ziggy Girl. That's interesting. I got an email too about that today too. Somebody was asking about Guatemala today. Interesting. Ziggy Girl, thank you for that. Shout out to whoever's calling in and explaining it to the C-SPAN people. It's Guatemala, High Desert Girl says the media can't even get the headline right. Look at this crap. U.S. citizen Kilmar Abrego? You wish. Not even close. What a joke that is. All right. So good stuff, my friends. Thank you for sending those in. Let's see what we got cooking over on locals. We'll take some locals questions on the day, and then we'll call it an evening And of course, members will be back tomorrow morning for the members only stream. We had a couple comments over on locals here. Elliot, what's up? Notice of appeal. That got filed in the Gerard case, Gerard 3, Dockmaster in the house over on locals. Dan shared this one. Court orders Fannie to provide new information about the Trump RICO case and collusion with Jack Smith. Ooh, we got some Fannie updates in Fannie land. Oh, gosh. So she said, here, this is from the Gateway Pundit. Judicial Watch is reporting this too. Shout out to Judicial Watch. Tom Fitton over there. Yeah, okay, yes. All right, so good stuff. All right, so we'll see a new court order. And this one came out from Judicial Watch on 8/20. Good stuff. The Georgia documents are kind of hard to get your hands on. So we may go through this tomorrow, my friends. Thanks for flagging that for us. Awesome. That looks like, how long is this? 7-pager. Okay, all right. You know, we like them a little longer than that, but that's okay. Sergeant Bob, hey, what's going on? Says, and following their protest, the pink-clad people will repair to their suburban Maryland gated communities, sip wine, eat hors d'oeuvres, and plan their next social justice escapade. Yeah, it reminds me of the Martha's Vineyard people. Remember when like all of those like liberal white women were like giving them like plates of like potatoes? They're like, I made scallop potatoes for you. It's the only thing I know how to cook. And then they gave him all the stuff and they're all just like, bye, get off our island. Don't come back. But bye. Hey, what's going on? Rakita Banana. I just finished the book, The Parasitic Mind by Dr. Gad Saad. It's a phenomenal read if anyone is looking for one. Thanks for the great stream, Rob. I just adore this community. Rakita Banana. Yeah, shout out to Dr. Gad Saad. I have not read that book actually, but I've heard it recommended a ton. So I should. And we adore you back, Rakita Banana. Thanks for being here and for being an awesome locals membo and supporting us on the day. And so, my friends, what a beautiful stream it has been. Let's say hello very quickly to some friends on X, and then we're going to call it a day. We're not going to be doing an after party today because your boy's got to head out the door. But, of course, membos, we'll be back in the morning for our members only stream tomorrow. Let's see. Any other comments over here? A couple quick ones over on X. I'm glad we checked. It's from Paul Mino. Uganda, Equator. Here's Kilmar. Uganda like your new home. President Trump, man. What a nice guy. He's such a nice guy, President Trump. Hey, Fred Pedamonte is here. Says the Kilmar case is not about Kilmar or Kristi Noem. This is the case that will show whether the administration has the power to affect laws in our country. Could have been anyone, but he's perfect. And Kathy Grimex says, why don't you ask Bannon and Solomon why they had to make up a story about trafficking using bogus Tennessee Highway Police who had no affiliation, which had no affiliation to the Tennessee State Police? Oh, I see. So it might have been just like an innocent thing, right? Like Tennessee State Police, Tennessee Highway Police. Do you think that they were being malicious in that, Kathy? Or probably just calling, you know, the Tennessee Police in some way, shape, or form. Anyways, thank you for commenting over there on X. My friends, thanks for being here. Thanks for the amazing donos. Welcome to our new members who joined us. We'll have a members only stream tomorrow in the morning, and it will be amazing. But we'll pause here for the evening. And before we wrap it up, we want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Big shout outs to Donut, to John, to Carrie B, to KB in the house. We got Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger on the Rumbles, Elliot, Jigum, and Just Rhonda helping out, modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and beautiful around here. But my friends, we'll pause here for the evening. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow, right back here to get into it again. And in order to do it appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
marching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chatting line. Together we exposed corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers, truth on our side. Watching the watchers, we won't be denied. Watching the watchers, eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through